keep it fun. That's kind of been my mantra, in all of these things. And I always come back to it when it's time to like write ad copy or create taglines for new helmets or come up
Yeah.
with our events or go to do rides and stuff. I'm like, I what I got, keep it fun.
Welcome to Outside is Magic, a podcast about the intersection of creativity and the outdoors. I'm your host, Christopher San Agustin, a creative director and the founder of Broken and Coastal, a studio rooted in storytelling, design, and community. This week, I'm joined by Jeremy Dunn. Jeremy has been contributing to the cycling culture for many, many years, from co-founding The Athletic to making zines to bringing people together through rides, events, and simply the joy of cycling. What I love about Jeremy is his willingness to bring people into his world, to lift them up, and give them a platform to shine. I think you're really going to love this one. But before we dive in, if you're enjoying these conversations, the best way to support the show is to subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with a friend. Okay, thanks for being here. Let's jump in. We first met through like a shared love of magazines and zines, I believe. I don't know. I think you invited me to just drop one off at your shop. And that was the first time I met you. Yeah, and I was just going to ask, like, how did you find that world? How did you get into making your own magazine and writing? Where did that all come from?
Well, there were two. Before I had my cycling publication, Embarkation. I knew you're going to ask this, so I was like, I should get one ready to hold up and show. Well, they're so embarrassing to me now to go back with them.
Your website's still up. I looked at it the other day.
The Embarkation website,
Yeah.
sick. Well, we can talk about the evolution of ownership and brands at some point too,
Okay.
but it wasn't mine in the end.
Okay.
Through no fault of my own. It was like a hostile takeover.
Gotcha.
um, but I don't know, I just always loved magazines. And so, going to bookstores and magazine shops and things like that, and, traveling around and trying to find zines and punk zines and just like subcultures do the best at making and telling their own stories, right? And so I think that's why I've sort of feel like I'm always living in these subcultures, and that's the best way to share what's really going on, right?
Yeah.
Making and passing out zines. And so I was racing a lot of cyclocross on the East Coast, working at a shop called Hair Cyclery with Sheldon Brown. If you know who he is or was, and that's always like a funny one for people when they're like, "You worked with Sheldon Brown?"
That's cool. I remember that website.
Yeah, yeah. It was pretty wild to work there and be part of it. But we started a little cyclocross team there. And so we were traveling around primarily on the East Coast, doing all these grassroots races and, taking photos and kind of using photos to tell and blogs to tell the story of our team, which then I was trying to use to get sponsors and support and things like that. And then that sort of evolved into like, maybe I've got all these photo assets. I'm writing stories. Maybe we should just like print something and make it into a actual physical thing that then we can go around and hand out or, sell at races out of the back of our car or, however we could do it. So that was sort of the genesis for it. And really, we were there. Like it was cool because there was this Crank Brothers Grand Prix was like this national series of races, and there was kind of a couple of them on the East Coast. And so then like the big stars of cyclocross, the Tim Johnsons and Jeremy Powers and Jamie Driscoll and Lynn Bissett and all of those folks would be there doing these races. And everybody was super approachable. And, so then I could do interviews and get candid photos and shoot race photos. And then, I just started compiling it into a magazine, and that became Embrocation Cycling Journal,
That's
which,
super cool.
yeah, which is like a funny name in and of itself, but, was very fun.
Do you remember like the first zine or I guess more indie magazine that you found that kind of showed you this little subculture?
I think it was a lot of music related stuff. You know, it was like going to record stores, CD
Yeah.
shops, and finding that stuff. Or like I always also remember, you would buy. I never got into collecting records. Thank God. I mean, you can see what books has done for me. But like in the liner notes, there would always be sort of like stories and, things that you would kind of read and like, okay, they're talking about their friends and like the people that they're meeting along their travels. And, I always thought that stuff was cool. I do remember signing up for a Rage Against the Machine fan club at one point, and they sent me all this rad stuff. Like it was just like a zine that they had made, stickers. Stickers, I have the biggest, worst sticker, collection affiliation. And they were sending records and tapes, and I was like, this is cool. This is like a connection to this band that I didn't know was possible. So I think,
Yeah, that's cool.
stuff like that. I'm always like picking up stuff on my travels and finding cool brochures and just weird ephemera
Yeah.
everywhere I go.
I grew up going to this punk rock club called the Gilman, which is a pretty famous punk rock club in Berkeley.
Yeah,
And
you
they would
guys were
have,
talking about Garrett Chow, and he used
yeah,
to hang out there and like make printed stuff for Green Day, you know?
yeah. Yeah, you walk in there and they had like a whole thing of zines. But what you said about music, I think that might be the origin for me too. When I'm thinking about buying a CD or a cassette, and you look through that really cool inside booklet, it's basically a zine. It
Yeah,
is a zine.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think there was a lot of that, and I feel like just a lot of time spent, my friends and I were like played in bands and we're into music, and so we would just go to record stores and steal CDs and shit, but also like just spend hours and hours there, like looking at stuff and trying to find. I feel like a lot of the stuff that I was getting into then too was like based on the covers. It was just like, oh, this is a really fucking cool cassette cover. What's this band into? And then, all of a sudden you're listening to some weird esoteric Tripping Daisy record.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. And I know you've probably talked about the athletic a ton, but there are some questions I have about it that I think are maybe a little different. Is I'm just curious, at what point did you realize that the athletic, like you were really building a community and curating like culture versus we're just selling socks, which obviously you did. But when I look at it, I saw like the bigger picture of you walked into your retail space and you really curated independent magazines and things that people wouldn't find anywhere else. And so it was really developing a culture that wasn't necessarily around at the time. It was a little forward thinking, in my opinion, like what you guys
Thanks.
were doing. Was there like an aha moment from that, like with that, where you're like, oh, we have this successful product, we're making these socks, but now we're actually making it something bigger than that.
Yeah, well, actually, I think there was a couple moments like that, but I think it really started with the Embrocation. It was called Embrocation Cycling Journal, and I kept butting into this problem where I would do stories about running or boxing or things that were not cycling journal, and people would like complain about that to me. It was like, oh, we're here to read about cyclocross, not boxing, and I was like, but Brett Rothmeyer has really fucking cool boxing photos, and boxing's cool too. Like it's its own thing. But so from that point, I was like, okay, the next thing that I do is going to be sort of sport agnostic, from its name, from its inception to its name to its, whatever it becomes. And there was a lot of like investigation that was in imbrication. It was like finding cool balms, finding cool tires in Belgium, finding, like going out on these travels and then finding things and showcasing them in the magazine. And so I think that sort of so that all happened. Then the magazine went away to its new owner. And then a couple years later, we started the socks. The socks took off on their own and was a thing, right? Like just weirdly like touched on a zeitgeist of a moment and
Yeah.
blew up, which then, so we were in that for a little bit. And then I remember doing a trip to New York. We were visiting our friend Andrea Westerland. Do you know that brand, Westerland? It's super cool, and she's done such an amazing job with it. But we were hanging out with her, and she was like, well, we were like, "Should we open a shop? You have a cool shop. Shops seem to be cool. We like shops." And she was like, "Fucking open a shop." So it was that. And then on that same trip, we went to this shop. I was just talking about this shop. I can never remember the name of it. And I'm sure Andrea would be like, it was called this. But it was this kind of husband and wife duo, which is also what we were dealing with. And they would travel the world and they would go somewhere for like a month. They would go to Japan for a month and they would curate their shop based on that trip. So they would have all of these like Japanese toothbrush, soap, wall hangings, rugs, furniture. And so for like 6 months, their shop would just be Japan. And they had all these like little tags next to every single thing that explained kind of how they found it or had a story about like, we were using this soap and it was so good in the mountains of, under the shadow of Mount Fuji. And I just thought that was so cool, and I was like, that was kinda what I was doing with embrocation was, like, finding these cool products, clothing, cycling, shoes, parts, whatever, and talking about them in a way that they related to me and sort of how I found them. So I was like, "We could do a version of this for sport," and I think that was sort of maybe that trip was sort of like the nudge that we needed to get us going into the shop space. And then from there, the space itself would just became like the living embodiment of what we were doing, riding bikes and looking at magazines and trying to find cool clothes and kit and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Storytelling through retail. I've never thought about that, but it makes
Yeah,
a lot of
it's really
sense.
fun. Like it's a really fun way to do, it makes everything personal and it
Hmm.
makes everything sort of have a reason to be in your store. I love it. I kind of like I actually really miss having a store. Like I
Yeah, I
miss
bet.
having a shop and a place to hang out. I last week I went to the athletic to the new space that they have on Williams. It's fucking rad. Like it looks
Is it?
super cool. Yeah, they've got like a little beer tap in there and everything's super merchandise and looks amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was super cool. Is there something, I guess, through that whole experience that you still see in your life on a daily basis?
I mean, so we started a Thursday night ride, when we were doing the athletic and people would show up and it was very different than it is now, but it still exists. We do it on Thursday night. I work at Smith Optics now, so we have the Smith ride on Thursday night. Every Thursday we go out and ride in Forest Park and, it's awesome. I think too, just like learning how to do events, in a very fun and culturally relevant way. I wish now we still had it because we were doing run club. We were doing, everybody's got a run club now and does a run, like, yeah, we were doing that like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's cool to like see the evolution. But we did that like Ekiden. Ekiden is like a relay race in Japan that they do. So we did one of those with Simworks, and they made gyoza at the end, and so we did this like trail relay up in Forest Park, and then came back and ate gyoza. We did a mile sprint that that finished in front of our store. That was really fun. It rained and looked super dramatic while it was happening. We put on art shows. We did like a MotoGP show and a Mount like a Hood to Coast show with Tracksmith, and we did a MASH show, and we did a Tour de France show with my friend Pete and Julie's photos from when she was like 12 years old. So I think just like learning how to like put on shows and, rally all these little subcultures
Yeah.
into your space. That, those are learnings that I've continued to apply to my jobs elsewhere, my
Yeah.
career.
Do you have any of that archived anywhere? All of the stories and photos from all those events?
I don't know. That's a good question. We had that. So we had our main space in the front there on like right on the corner of Lovejoy and 19th there. And then we had that other little space off to the side. Did you ever see that? The gallery space. We called it the ESA gallery. It was called the Espace Sportif et Artistique. And it was like literally just a blank room that we would do these shows in. So
Oh, cool.
we did it as like a gallery show. Some of that stuff still exists. I mean, I have so much art and like basketball drawings from the shows that we did with that. It's all sort of peppered around my house now.
Yeah, that's super cool. Do you think something like that can exist right now with how expensive everything is, retail spaces and
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we talk about this a lot still of like wanting to have a space and sort of hoping, I guess you need to go to the next affordable place and do it.
yeah,
Or you need to go kind of far enough out of the city where things are cheaper. What's that space in Joseph, Oregon? That there's like, I think it's called like Crow is the name of this guy and space that he runs out in Joseph. And it's like, he's got a little radio station in there and like a bookstore and does events and stuff. That's
that's
maybe a
cool.
little too far away, but that's a really cool space and model to go off of. But yeah, I mean, I thought you see empty retail spaces
Yeah,
everywhere. And I just don't know
everywhere.
why it doesn't. Like, I think maybe the government subsidizes people to just like, cool, we're landlords and we're in hard times, so we're not going to pay our rent, and that's fine. That didn't work for us when we were like a small brand and on hard times and didn't have money to pay rent. We got booted and a bill at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I think you need a culture. Maybe it's elsewhere. Maybe it's Europe, that where you can have that like entrepreneurial culture gets supported in a way that's healthy. Here in the States, I feel like everyone wants to talk about being an entrepreneur, but they don't want to support it unless it's like a $1 billion tech startup, a
yeah,
unicorn tech startup. It's like we were making socks and we would go to the bank and be like, hey, we want to get a line of credit so that we can buy more to sell more, but also still pay our employees. And they were like, oh, that's such a good idea. Like, this is super cool. Let's talk about it next quarter. And we'd go back next quarter and they'd be like, oh, yeah, it's super cool. I can see you did a whole bunch of sales. Let's talk about it next quarter. And finally we were like, okay, yeah, this is not going to happen. We're
yeah,
not like big enough. And we have actual physical stock. And that worries a bank because what if it
yeah.
doesn't sell? So, yeah, I don't know. Like trying to get support for those things. I would love.
Yeah, it's almost like forming some sort of collective where you could have maybe 5 brands,
Yeah.
be in a space that can accommodate it all, and that could be pretty cool. I've always wanted a space, and I think about your space on near Forest Park a lot because I just loved how you had this retail space that felt like a retail space, but also felt like part like a gallery, and then you had your workspace above it, right?
Yeah, that was really
It's
cool.
just the ideal. It's so ideal.
Yeah, that
One
that
is,
was super cool. And We got to do a couple rad shows in there too. We were only in
Yeah.
that it was funny, we had, like, so many big plans for that space, and we were like, looking back on it, we were so green about it too, we signed the lease, we went into the space, and we were like, "Where's the electrical?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah, you have to do all that." And we
What?
were like,
Oh
we
gosh.
spent all of the money that we had saved up to do the move, like, doing the electrical and painting and,
Yeah.
like, it's kinda sucked, like, and then we just felt so foolish about the fact that how did we not know that? Like, how did
Yeah.
like, was it just why was that not clear to us when we were doing it? Because it's not like we're idiots, you know?
That doesn't seem normal to me.
It was really
That's
weird.
weird.
Because we had plans for like, we were going to put a sauna in the back of that space because it had, two entrances, and we were going to put this little sauna in and then do like a sauna club, it was like do a run club and then everybody could kind of sit in the sauna. And
Yeah, that's crazy. A little bit of a tangent, but one of your athletes at Smith, I'm blanking on his name, but he's starting something called the Hard MTB League. You know who I'm talking about?
Braden Brinkhurst.
Yeah, that dude rips. And he announced that he couldn't do it because they didn't have funding, but it seems like he got a private backer basically to front the money for 3 years, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, exactly what I would do if I was fortunate to be in that place too. I'd be investing my money into people doing good things, and maybe it just takes more people like that who have the means, and it's pennies really for them to just make someone's dream come alive, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think it's like, I mean, it's tough too because it's like, again, I was listening to Casey's podcast and like I feel like we had a similar upbringing, and if you're not sort of like in or around or subjected to that world that you're speaking of money and stuff, it's oftentimes very hard to navigate and break into. I mean, we took some investment from a company called Indie VC, which was really cool to like see how that worked. And like one of the things that was really cool about it is they like advise you whenever you need it all along the way. So that was super cool to like, I think just if there's one moment that I take away from that is like when we were starting to kind of shut things down and, slow things down and trying to figure out what to do, they were like, "Hey, you should try to sell your business." And we were like, we didn't even think of something like that, like
Yeah.
we just thought like, okay, it's like we're struggling to keep this running. Let's just shut it down and lock the door and good night. And Bryce there at NEVC was like, no, you should try to sell your business. Like there's real like intellectual property here. Like you built a real thing. And so then once we got on that track, like it was kind of amazing. Like it opened up and people were like, oh yeah, we're interested. And so we
Hmm.
fielded, a dozen or so requests for this. It was like various people that were like had other businesses and were like, oh, this would be a good sort of like content addition arm to what we're doing, or like soft goods arm to what we're doing, or like even just taking the, you know, whatever it was, 50,000 emails and that we had gathered over the years and dropping them into a business is a real thing.
Yeah. That's cool. I can see how everything that you did there is just a perfect match with the company you're working for now, Smith. But has there been any learnings, I guess, from moving from doing your own thing to being in this bigger company, much larger company, I imagine?
Yeah, much larger, but not really when you break it down. I went from career path wise, I worked at Rafa for a really long time, like 7 years, 8 years. And then, and sort of like, well, so, okay, so I did the magazine that we talked about first. That sort of got me my job at Rafa. The Slate Olson, the guy that was in charge there, sort of understood that I could tell stories and knew how to reach out to people and could hustle in the
An
way
exciting time at Rafa too, I would say.
needed. Yeah, I mean, it was like 2007. it was like year 5. I was employee number 33 at Rafa. So yeah, and I think a theme that has come up a few times in this zone is sort of just going for it and asking for forgiveness rather than permission. We did a lot of that at the early years of Rafa here in the US, where things look very different than the British side. And through that, then I started the athletic and moved to that and did that full time for like 6, 7 years. And then got a job at an agency here in town called Cinco. Worked at Cinco for a year and then moved over to Specialized and managed all the road and gravel bike marketing for them for a couple years. So there was a lot of learnings there. It was like
I bet.
going from like working on your own and being scrappy and having a couple employees to like having a team of 4 or 5 people that were all focused on the same thing and having a real budget, really hire photographers instead of begging your friends to take a couple photos on the weekend. And then from there was like back to freelance, doing stuff for SRAM, and then yeah, and then Smith. And Smith is like a pretty small team. It's like a marketing team made up of 4 marketing managers and an events lady and Tucker Leverton, marketing coordinator. So yeah, it's still a pretty small team. But I think a lot of through that sort of arc in the industry, um, I've found ways to make everything apply from doing those events on a grassroots level to hiring creatives and actually making stuff to making photo shoots and videos. And yeah, there's a
Yeah, I think
lot
it.
it's applicable.
Yeah, yeah, and I think what's really cool, probably it goes way back as well, is how you've. I feel like you always bring in your friends and people that you look up to kind of get into the fold, which I think is really cool. And I feel like a lot of us want to be in a position where we can bring our friends in and help other people out. So that's got to definitely give you a shout out for that, and Julie, of course, as well. That you guys both
Yeah,
really look out for your friends and you seek out new talent and help lift them up as well. So it's
yeah,
really
and
cool.
I mean a lot of that I think came about through, well, one through Rafa, but like at the Athletic having our own business and like having to hire you know employees to be there, you know, working the shop floor, which is not always the coolest job, but you still need to keep everybody motivated and sort of working towards the same goal. But yeah, then who we were featuring in our socks and who we were trying to tell stories about, became a real topic of discussion every time,
Yeah.
and like sort of like you said, like who can we lift up and celebrate through each of these things. So yeah, thank you. I mean, I feel like I'm still, listening to you. I'm just gonna keep referring back to all your previous podcasts, but like listening to the Amigas,
Yeah.
that was a lesson that I needed to learn or had to learn in the last couple years too, was like, because I was always like, let's tell these stories about these marginalized cultures or people or females and support women's racing and stuff like that. There's another layer of that too, of like hiring women to shoot those things. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of white guys in my Rolodex that they're all down to shoot whatever we're going to shoot. But really there's another layer that we need to lift up and, make it even more authentic and real. So
Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to get better at that as well and sort of continue to grow my network in a healthy way.
Yeah. I imagine you have a lot of collaborations that you love, but is there one that really stands out?
Like collaborations that
It could be a product, or it could just have been a shoot or a story, anything really.
they're all sort of fun in their own way. Like
Yeah, I bet.
we did these glasses, the Bobcats with Lisa Congdon this past year, and just like getting to know her and work with her and see her studio and space and see her art come to life, and sort of like the joy that even like making some crazy glasses brings to people that see them and wear them. Like that's been super cool. I would consider her a friend now, sort of through this process, and like she's rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like artists and folks, like working with Jake Stengel, the photographer. Like everything he touches turns to gold.
So good. Yeah.
And, like being around him and his process early on as like a subject, he was shooting a Rafa Continental when we were like riding around the country, and sort of watching him really learn to take photos and take photos on the fly, and then having it turn around 10 years later and being able to hire him to he shot this whole like a Crux
Yeah, the crux.
new Crux campaign that we did.
That was so good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really fun, and Lucas was involved in that, and our friend Moy was involved in that, and Sammy was in on that, and it was just fun to like see people get excited, and then see the outcome of him and his process. That Yeah, that was super fun. Emily May shot the Athos campaign that we did.
She's
She's
my
so
favorite
dope.
photographer. Yeah.
And I remember
Yeah.
working at Rafa and being on a call with her, and it was just like this lady that somebody put me in touch with, and she was like, check out my photos. I think I came to her through Chris Milliman, another photographer, and I was like, this is really cool stuff. Like she's behind the scenes with these tour riders, and we need to work with her. So,
Yeah.
you know,
She's so cool. I found out about her through Julie,
yeah,
and she was like, "Hey, yeah," she was like, "Hey, let's try to do a zine with her." So I had a call with her, and just hearing her background, and it was so inspiring. And then her photography is just, I
it's,
don't know, it
it's,
has so much emotion to it.
yeah, it's next.
Yeah, I don't even know how you. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so
It's
good.
cool. Like her sport photography is like some of the best. It's cool.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
I I was just cleaning up. I'm gonna grab this. Were you part of this?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I did with Julie.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Like this is super cool too.
yeah, that was fun. I felt like we were just getting the ball rolling and kind of finding our feet and our voice, and then it got, eventually got kind of dwindled out. But yeah, it was cool.
Why does my camera sometimes in focus and sometimes not?
I know, I noticed that. It's fine.
It's good here.
Yeah.
Weird.
As a marketer at Smith, I imagine you blur the lines a lot with creative direction. Is that the case? Do you consider yourself also like a creative director? No, I hate labels personally, like names and stuff, but
Yeah, I mean we kind of have to because we don't have a
yeah.
creative director.
Okay.
Please,
There you
please,
go.
God, please, someone send us a creative director.
You should hire one.
What?
You guys should hire one for sure.
Yeah,
But you guys are doing a great job. So,
yeah. Thanks. I mean, it's something that we talk about a lot, like the other marketing managers. So I manage all of the bike marketing
mhm.
globally, so mountain bike and road and gravel, eyewear and helmets. There is an eyewear marketing manager, there is a snow marketing manager, and there's like a retail focused marketing manager. Um, we try to like hold hands and make sure that everybody sort of knows what's going on and sort of keep everything moving in that right vein in a way that a creative director might. But we get a little in our own categories often, and so then it becomes you know things we I put out a video and somebody's like, what are you doing with that crazy handmade type? Like we're not doing that. I'm like, okay, well, I just thought it looked cool.
That's funny.
So I think yes, in the sense that like it just is a necessity. Our designers, we have one designer that does all, like sits across the board there. He's so fucking good. His name is Ben Hirsch. He spent a lot of time in the skate world. You can follow him on Instagram. He's called Burger Ben, and he's fantastic. And I think he's sort of like become our de facto creative director, just in the sense that I just go like, if there's any question, I just go, Ben, what should we do?
Yeah.
But he's been there a long time, and he's yeah, he does a fantastic job. All the stuff that you'll see at Made, he's been cranking out, and it looks so cool. We When I first started working at Smith, we were doing this mountain bike day for like all the employees. And so we are going to make a shirt for it. And I was like, hey, Ben, I know we don't know each other. We're just trying to feel this out. Could you create like a little character for us, like a little cartoon character, like a little guy? Here's a couple animals that I think would be cool to create into this character. And like a couple days later, he was like, "Yeah, what do you think about this?" And I was like, "Whoa, where did that come from?" I didn't know that you could illustrate in this way. He made this rad, like it's called I'm blanking on the name of the animal, but it's an animal that's native to Oregon and California. It looks kind of like it's like in the sort of weasel family.
Okay.
It's super cool. And so we've used him, this little character, in a lot of stuff. Like our eyewear washing station has this little character, and you'll see a bunch of it at the Made Show as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do at the Made Show.
It should be
There's
good. I asked
I think
Billy
we're
what he needed. Like I was like,
okay.
"What? I'm not gonna try to sell helmets at this thing. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna try to sell glasses. Like, what can we do that is needed?" And he was like, "We need like a lounge, like somewhere where people can actually just like sit down."
Hell
I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, great. I can do that." Because I want to sit down and chill. So
Yeah.
coming
What's
out.
what's it like going from, I guess, having to be a little bit more scrappy at the athletic and then going to a bigger company like Smith, where you can dream up these big ideas and you can just get them approved?
Well, getting them approved is oftentimes the thing, right?
Oh, okay.
Like that's my tagline lately at Smith has been, I get to do whatever I want, but the amount of steps and hurdles and approvals sometimes wears me down.
Hmm.
It's all about budget, right? Like I'm in charge in that way, that I get to like say what we're going to do. And I work really closely with our athlete manager to sign new athletes, and sort of, we take a look at who's doing what and how we can sign athletes in that way. Work really closely with the retail marketing manager, Veronica, because she needs the photos of the new stuff that we're launching. So I work really closely with her to get all of that. It's more than I would have anticipated. Like I
Okay.
feel like it's more than what you're alluding to in terms of
Gotcha.
getting to do whatever I want. I'm just very pushy in that space.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I think they want that also, right? Like they like
Yeah.
that we're pushing the envelope and that we're doing stuff. But oftentimes I'm like, again, like I just do things because I know we need to do them. I know we need to make rad shirts. For events, so I partner with Bicycle Crumbs and make this shirt, and then like somebody comes over from product and is like, "Where did this shirt come from? Like that we don't use that logo. Like what the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like, "Sorry, we just needed some shirts, some cool shirts, and I want people to get stoked about them and not just like Smith, you know?"
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's a lot of that. Sorry to
Yeah. Those.
one from Smith
Yeah.
that listens to this.
Those little things make such a big impact. I can remember when I first got into road cycling, it was in New York, and I had no idea what I should be wearing. And I'm pretty sure I saw it on the Radavus or something. It was Smith glasses. And so I bought some probably at NYC Velo. Shout out them.
Andrew.
I remember I was riding the 9W, which was like the big lap, and I don't know what happened, but my glasses fell off, and a car literally was behind me and ran them over. And I remember emailing Smith, like super bummed, like expensive glasses. Like I just got ran over, and they were super cool. They were like, "Hey, we don't make those glasses anymore, but I have all these extra lenses and frames. I'm just gonna send them to you." And they just sent me like this whole box of like different frames and lenses, and I ended up having like 3 sets of glasses after that I used for years. And I was like, now I'm a customer for life. I've been wearing Smith glasses ever since. It's like those little interactions, that little extra effort goes so long.
Yeah, I mean, so 2 years ago, we started doing this eyewear washing station. I know it's not a new idea, but I had this idea. I'm like, let's go. It's like same way with Billy. I was like, okay, we're gonna go to SPT. What can we do there that's not like, yes, I want to have our stuff available for people who want to purchase it, but what else can we do to like enhance everyone's experience there? And just like I want people to come away from that and be like, it was cool to see the Smith guys. Like they did this thing that was awesome. And so we did this eyewear washing station. We created this eyewear washing station. So we were on course and we just washed everyone's glasses when they would
That's
stop
awesome.
to get water or snacks or whatever at one of the
Yeah.
aid stations. And we made white jumpsuits that we wear now, and we had music and we had snacks, and we were just like cleaning everyone's glasses, everyone. And people would come up and be like, I'm not wearing Smith, but we're like, get in here, like
Yeah.
let's just get that sunblock and sweat off your shade.
Yeah.
And so I think like I hope that that's still happening on the customer service level, and that's what I'm trying to bring to the marketing side of it too, is just like doing these things that like stoke people out and give them back a little nugget of awesome in their day, because people put
Yeah.
those glasses back on and they're like, I can see, like,
Yeah.
can you hear my stomach
Yeah.
growling?
That's super true. I've been in a lot of conversations in the past couple of years where brands are trying to figure out how to show up to an event, and it's more about how do we show our products in the best light, yada yada yada. And the real question is like what you said is like what can we do to help the people there?
Yeah. And
And yeah,
we were
that
doing
seems like the code, the cheat code.
Yeah, for real. And we were doing that with Rafa, just like showing up on the side of the mountain and making espressos and making publications and zines that people can wave around and, stuff like that. And, I think it's a really, for me, it's like a really fun way to interact with everyone that's there. We're there because you're there. So we might as well all have a good time. I'm going to
Yeah,
go to Crankworks this next week, and we're going to do a ride on Thursday. And I am bringing a whole bunch of Bobcat and Wildcat lenses. So anybody who shows up with Bobcats and Wildcats, I can just like replace their lenses,
freshies.
give
Hell
them
yeah.
some freshies, because man, they get
Yeah.
they get messy.
Dude, they get haggard.
Yeah.
I think I have 2 pairs of Wildcats, and yeah, you don't want to see the lenses. They're
Well,
because I'm bad. I just chuck them in the bag. I can't put them in the sleeve, and
everyone
yeah,
does.
and they get sweaty and dirty. But that's what they're made for, right?
Yeah, totally. So if I can, I'll save you some lenses so we can swap out those Wildcats.
Yeah, if you have any left over, I will definitely take them. This has been great, man. I feel like we covered a lot. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on? There's some nuggets in there. I got some ideas out after offline that I want to with you about.
Okay, cool. I want to make something with you. Like, I think like your publications are always super fun. And have you ever been to the IPRC? Do you know what that is? The
Mm-mm.
Independent Publishing Resource Center. It's like right down the
Okay.
street.
Really?
It's this huge warehouse. It's got like 10 risographs and like a whole letterpress scenario. You can become a member for the year for like $300 and have access to all that. I had this idea at the beginning of the bike season. So we kick off the bike season in like March. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be going to all these events. I'm traveling to all these things. I went to Seattle. I went to Eurobike, go to the races, whatever. And I was like, I want to figure out a format of a zine that I can just print at the hotel printer,
Hmm.
and fold it up and staple it and hand it out wherever I'm at. So if I'm at Seattle for 4 days and I have a template where I can just drop in some iPhone photos and
Yeah,
write like 200
yeah.
words or 100 words about this thing. And then each day I could just like print off a bunch of them, fold them in whatever fashion and hand them out. I got hung up on it because I'm a creative and I get hung up on things in that way that I wanted it to look a certain way. So I'm like,
Yeah.
if you can help me with that actual format of the thing where I can be dropping in things.
Yeah, I love that. That's super cool.
And then I think of this like the IPRC of like a space to actually like, then I was like, okay, if I join, then every Friday I could just go and print off this thing, and maybe
Yeah.
maybe learn a little bit more about Rezo, or do some fun stuff in that way. So
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. So, closing question is just one message to the world that you want people to hear. One little glimpse of hope and inspiration.
yeah, I don't know. I think just like keep it fun. That's kind of been my mantra, in all of these things. And, I always come back to it when it's time to like write ad copy or create taglines for new helmets, and or come up with our events or go to do rides and stuff. I'm like, I that's what I got. Keep it fun.
Yeah. Keeping it fun and joy. It's so important, especially now.
Yeah.
Shout out Fun Camp, right? Is that a throwback? Shout out Fun Camp.
Shout out fun camp. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a good time as well.
Yeah.
We need more adult summer camps.
Yes, I agree.
I think that's kind of the theme for our Made Show booth too. Is like
I love it.
they already shut me down on wanting to bring a whole Yeti cooler full of ice cream sandwiches because they were worried it would just like melt.
Got to get a Dometic.
What's that?
And then get a Dometic and you're good. They have the Dometics that are, you can turn it to a freezer or a refrigerator.
I don't even know what that is. That sounds like some cool gear that I need in my life.
Yeah, you could just use, it's like 12 volt or you can plug it into a wall or
Oh,
whatever.
okay.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. Well, thanks so much. This has been super cool.
Yeah, no worries. It's
Yeah.
fun for me too. It's fun to do it.
And that's our show for today. If you like this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend. It all really helps out. If you have any questions about creativity, process, or anything we talked about, please drop a comment. I'd love to hear from you. You can follow along at Broken Coastal on Instagram and YouTube. Subscribe to my newsletter. It's a weekly dose of inspiration at the intersection of design and outdoors. Thanks for being here.